Hello, hello, friends. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to our Let's Get Hired series. This is episode 3. We are here with Kimberly, and we are going to be chatting about all things hiring, just like we have been. So if you are just tuning in, please do feel free to submit your questions in the chat. Let me know if there's anything particular on your mind, any specific questions you have around hiring, and we would be more than happy to jump in and answer those. But in the meantime, we'll just be discussing some general topics, and definitely just wanted to give you guys a chance to get to know Kimberly a little bit better. So Kimberly, and I did not say your last name because I do not want to butcher it. I'm going to let you say it. But if you will tell everyone a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me on here. It's super exciting. And for those of you that are tuning in, my name is Kimberley Bueno-Schonig. I am a business and career consultant, serial entrepreneur, and nonprofit founder. A little bit about me. I have a few years of experience under my belt running several small businesses. Last year, I won Best 50 Women in Business by NJ Biz. I was a recipient of the Red Backpack grant from Sarah Blakely of Spanx. And I'm super excited to be here to talk all things about career and business. My background has been working in HR. So I've done the recruiting and also terminations. So I can kind of help people not only land a job during the pandemic, but also get a better understanding of what resources they can take advantage of while they're working for a company.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. And just shout out, hello, Pallavi. Thank you for being here. Always happy to see a client and a friend in the chat. So thanks for tuning in. But Kimberly, in the meantime, and do people call you Kim? Can I call you Kim?
Yeah, of course, totally.
Okay. We're going to get casual. So Kim, tell me, when it comes to this past year, when it comes to COVID and all the craziness that happened, in your perspective, from your, mindset, what do you think is the best job strategy moving forward for our job seekers out there? How can they best position themselves for success in this terrible job climate?
Yeah, I know it's a really great question. It's a common question I get a lot. And I think one of the first steps I personally believe in taking, and information I provide to my clients, is to always ask for help, right? So reaching out to Jennifer is one of the best ways you can start doing that. You can also reach out to me, but since you're on Jennifer's platform, it's always a good place to ask around and get as much information and support as you can. I think the second thing I would probably also say is to be very active on your social platforms, be engaging, do as much research as you possibly can on not only the job that you're interested in, but be able to network and ask for opportunities if there are any.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that is a great answer. That's probably what I would have said as well. I always like to get other opinions, though. I think that LinkedIn, if you're not using LinkedIn, if you aren't already utilizing the two-pronged strategy, as I like to call it, then you aren't really setting yourself up for success in the best way. And that doesn't mean you have to be doing LinkedIn Lives like me. I know not everyone likes to do this kind of stuff. But, start sharing what you know, start sharing your knowledge, start sharing and educating others. And you'd be surprised when you show others what you know, what can come back to you just through engagement and through teaching people in that way. Any thoughts on that, Kim?
I mean, I completely agree 100%. I think what I actually always relate to clients is you're pretty much essentially your own business, right? You're trying to showcase your skill set. You're trying to showcase your experience. And what you're essentially doing in this competitive job market is to show that you are a top candidate. And just like Jennifer mentioned, you have to be engaging on platforms like LinkedIn. Of course, there are other social channels that you can also be on, but you're on LinkedIn already, so you might as well start engaging with your network, seeing what opportunities are out there, and not only not only should you network, but you should also showcase, your strengths, your skills, and your experience.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Speaking on engagement, which you just hit on, I would love to hear a little bit more because I get this question all the time. Where do you start with engagement? What are your suggestions for our viewers out there who may not actively use LinkedIn? Where to start on that journey?
Yeah, I think what I personally always recommend to clients is the goal is to, be on the platform where you can post. But if you're not comfortable with posting and creating your own content, you can start by sharing content that you feel good about, right? So if you're reading articles online, if there are news that are trending and it's relevant to the industry that you're in, that is good enough content to share on your platform, so long as you're providing your personal insight to that, your personal touch to that content, right? Maybe you're sharing why you're so attracted to reading that article, or what are some pros and cons to take away. I think you can start super, super small, and that's just sharing the content that you're reading online with the people in your network.
Yeah, I love that. That is definitely a great first step. And I feel like there's nothing to be, well, not nothing, but there's a lot less to be scared about when you're sharing other people's content, right? It's some article that Bloomberg wrote, or, the Wall Street Journal, or whatever. And it's not necessarily your own thoughts. But I definitely agree with Kim. Share why you're passionate about it. You need to let people know, they want to peek behind the curtain. And that's something I always tell people. People hire people, not robots. And that's why it's important to have an optimized LinkedIn and to stand out, because if you can humanize yourself, if you can make them see you like, hey, this is a real person with a fun personality who looks like they'd be great at their job, you become so much more than a resume, and you can, really stand out above the crowd in that way. So we have our first question from Pallavi, and she would like to know, I would like to build a career in HR/people operations. My question is, how to showcase your expertise if one is interested in companies like Microsoft, Amazon, or Google. So I will let you take a stab at this first, Kim, and then I'm more than happy to interject as well.
Sure. One of the biggest tips that I always share with my clients is to set up informational interviews with people that are already in the job that you want, right? If you are interested in HR, people operations, you're curious to know what steps you need to take to get to that type of role, the best thing to do is to ask around and specifically target the people that are working at the companies you're interested in, and look for people in HR, people operations roles, and ask them, have a casual conversation with them and ask them a series of questions. And one could be, what steps did you take to get to your current career, your current job role, and start from there. Obviously, if you're going to reach out to people, you want to make sure you are coming prepared. So make sure you just do your research on the company and on that person.
Yeah, most definitely. You'd never want to approach someone unprepared, because you would be surprised how often it can turn into a conversation quickly. Yes. Even in a phone interview, there were times where, I often wasn't expecting to have like a compensation conversation so early in talks with people and things like that. So definitely do your research before applying for roles, before moving forward in the process, so that you can make sure you have an idea of all of those things going in. Awesome.
That was a good question.
Said, thank you so much for your insights. Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, and hi, Dave. Dave is my business coach. For those of you who may not know Dave, you should follow him. He's great. He searches for relevant hashtags for the industry I'm targeting and engage in any relevant discussions to expand my network. That's a great one, Dave. I love that. Additionally, targeted connections is what I would say. So make sure you're adding people to your network. And I feel like Kim hit on this too. You want to be engaging with those people, but make sure you're connecting with them too, and make it a point to send a few connection requests every day. So, look for your target cities, look for your target companies, look for people who have that role, and actually connect with them. And once you start growing that network, then you're going to be able to reach out and then have those sort of coffee chats that Kim's discussing, which is going to be able to ultimately lead you to those referrals, which leads you to success. It's a journey, guys. There's no easy answer to the top, right?
Yep, 100%. I completely agree with you, Jennifer.
Takes a little bit of time for sure. Well, moving on, I want to talk a little bit about being adaptable. So let's talk about transferable skills. This is one I hear a lot from my clients. What do you think are the most valuable transferable skills on a resume?
Personally, I always go to technical skills, right? Right now, everyone is online, and I think the basics when it comes to technical skills is how to navigate using a microphone, how to use a webcam, right? And that could be transferable in terms of your personal functions, right? If you're trying to handle celebrations over Zoom or over online, to having virtual interviews, right? So it's important to be able to have the basic technical knowledge on how to set up those two things. Like, for example, before this live started, I was having technical issues. Thank goodness I was able to quickly fix it beforehand. And I think that's really, really important. If we talk about soft skills, I think when it comes to being flexible and adaptable, I think if you're able to manage a calendar or be able to handle last minute requests or, work with a little bit of pressure, I think that can be helpful, especially, in depending on what type of industry you're in. We're in crazy times right now. So I think that is a very, very strong skill set. If you can be flexible in your work ethic, I think that could also be very valuable.
Yeah, no, I love all of those. All of those are great. And I think all of them hit on one common theme that I sort of always tell my clients, and it all relates, but you essentially want to show how you can wear a lot of different hats, guys. They want to see how you can thrive in ambiguity. Someone tells you get from point A to point B, and they may not give you any instructions when it comes to working in some of these big, complicated spaces. So they need to know that you can operate on your own, that you can problem solve and work your way through to that. So find ways in your resume, find those big projects you've done, those complicated things, show the nuance in them, show how complicated they are, show how you were able to silo things down, really focus the process. Show those project management skills. And I think if you can do that, that is something that is just so applicable across the board.
Yeah, that's
and we
good.
have some more great questions. So hello, Alana. Alana says, how different, if at all, is career development in tech or different industries? Is there more personal initiatives or company programs? This is an interesting question. Would you like to take a stab at this one, Kim? You want me to take this one?
Sure. Or you can go.
You go for it.
Okay. So I think that's a very, very interesting question. Actually, a question that I don't get pretty often. But so I have experience working in finance, tech, and the nonprofit industry, and I would probably say there are similarities in terms of retention, right? So a lot of companies typically want employees to stay with them long term. I think for the most part, a lot of organizations want you to stay with them long term. I would say in terms of how they approach those initiatives and how they try to achieve that goal is what varies, and what really influences how they structure the organization, how they decide to plan a pipeline or a strategic process. But ultimately, I think a lot of companies have similarities in how they want to achieve a high retention rate.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, Alana, that I feel so much of it has to do with infrastructure and just how much the company can afford. The bigger the company, the more, well off they are, the more that they can invest in really making sure that their employees get that education, feel well rested and cared for, and they can just afford to take more time. Whereas other companies, they simply just don't have the time, right? Their workers have to work X to Z doing these sorts of things. They don't have the infrastructure, the finances in place to really support that sort of development. So I think it's important to think about that, especially in regards to the job you want, because also those smaller companies, there's going to be a lot more room for growth. You're going to be able to go from someone in a lower level job, more entry level, moving their way up a lot more quickly. So there's a lot of factors to consider in what kind of role is going to be best for you. Pay, how quickly you want to move, development and things like that. But I would say that's one of the biggest things to me. Is a lot of it just boils down to money and time.
It's a good answer.
Thank you. We have a question from Francisco, who says, would the same process apply when switching careers into training and development after being in another career for a long time? Interesting. Would the same process, I think he might be referring to the previous question.
I think so. I am also thinking maybe this means like career transitions. Maybe like you were in HR and then maybe you're interested in like product development. That's how I'm understanding it. But I can try to take a stab at it, and maybe if Francisco wants to clarify, that would be helpful. So I'm going to kind of answer making the assumption that you're interested in switching careers from, yes, say, for example. Yes. Oh, okay, perfect. So if that's the case, I personally would say that if you're trying to switch and transition careers, I would apply the same advice that Jennifer and I provided earlier about having, informational interviews, making sure you're doing research, making sure you're engaging with your network, etc. Because right now with the high competitive job market, what you really have to showcase, and I think Jennifer mentioned this a few times already, is to make sure that you're showing what your skill set looks like, right? That you can wear a lot of hats, that you're flexible, that you're adaptable, all these different things, because there are still, about, I think the number is 19 million people that are currently still unemployed. So you're competing with a very high competitive job market. And while a lot of clients or a lot of people might say it's difficult to switch or transition careers, I'd say really if you just focus on, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, your target people that you want to interview, and making sure that you're implementing the strategies that maybe your career coach like Jennifer would be recommending to you, I think your chances of being able to successfully switch careers is going to be a lot higher.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Taking that two-pronged strategy is going to be really helpful. Cold applying just isn't enough anymore, in my opinion. You can do it. I don't ever recommend people stop. Send applications till the cows come home. That's how we get in the system. But do more than that. You need to be giving yourself your best chance, and it's no longer just apply. That's not good enough anymore. That's not giving yourself your best chance, truly. If you want your best chance, you need to try to get a referral. You need to try to get a referral before you apply. You need to apply with said referral. You need to research the role. You need to, develop your network, maybe have a conversation with someone internally, see if you can't get more information. You just need to be going above and beyond. And when you do that, I think so many people don't know that the game changes. Like when you start sharing yourself, you start showing what you start educating others on the things you're passionate about, they start seeing you as a leader in your space because you know what you're talking about. You are educating people on these subjects, and people are going to see you being this leader on LinkedIn and taking on this role. And they're going to say, hey, I want to talk to that person. Hey, I want to work with this person. So it really, really works to your benefit to start putting yourself out there more. So definitely echoing Kim's sentiments a lot. We have another question from JJ. And JJ says, I am an SDSU undergrad trying to start my career as a data scientist. Any recommendations to get that first internship in data scientists? In data science. Wow, in data scientists. Yes, that's a job apparently. Would you like to start, Kim?
Sure. And I'm assuming SDSU is San Diego State University. I'm originally from California, so love that. Hopefully that's correct. If you are trying to start a career as a data scientist, it's a very similar question to what someone asked earlier, right? I think, again, your first step should really be to do your research, right? What exactly is, what should your first steps into entering the industry be, right? And that's based off of what other people who are in that position have taken, right? You don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. What's most important here is you're acting, or maybe not necessarily acting, but you're being smarter about how you approach the steps, right? Because time is of the essence right now. You are competing with so many different people. And when it comes to getting an internship, definitely ask around, right? Internships, I'm not sure if you're looking for a paid internship, but it's a lot easier to get an unpaid internship just by offering your help. And if you can do that pretty frequently with the people that you're interviewing with, or, networking with or connecting with, I think you're going to be able to land an internship faster that way. And then you never know if there's potential for that to be converted to paid internships, right? So it's just a matter of asking, utilizing your network, and making sure you're doing the sufficient research to give you enough knowledge.
100%. I can't echo that enough. Definitely give before you take is something I always say to my clients. So, finding that internship rather than asking, in mailing every recruiter. And that's not to say that you can't approach a recruiter correctly if you've been, talking to them, but really, oh my goodness, this happened to me earlier today too. I was talking and it was like, my brain just like, totally like erases the thought. And it's like, goodbye. You're not going to be able to think anymore, Jennifer. What was I saying? Oh, yes. We're talking about in-mails and in-mailing with recruiters. Yes. So when you're in-mailing with recruiters, ideally you want to have more of that relationship established. But if you don't, if you're going to go in cold, even talking to people who aren't recruiters, you want to try to offer something first. So I love what Kim said, like, can I do some work for you? Whatever. To be honest, data scientist stuff goes like way over my head, but like whatever you could offer to do for them for free in a small capacity, say, do you have any data science work you need done? Offer your services to a lot of people, talk to a lot of people, give before you take. And you're going to find a lot of people who may have needs or may say, you know what, no, but I have a friend who does need a data scientist and I'll reach out to him because you were so kind to offer to me. So definitely take advantage of asking around, offering your services. And I think you'll find some traction in that regard.
Do you mind, Jennifer, if I add a few more things to that too?
Go for it, of course.
Because it is data scientist. I actually have a client who is interested in breaking into data companies, and something that I relayed to her that I'll be relaying to you today is if you can show how you're utilizing data or why data is important in maybe a specific type of company that you're interested in. If you can kind of pull metrics, pull analytics or statistics to kind of showcase how you're utilizing data and showing them how interested you are with data and how it can show you certain results or can kind of tell you a story. I think that's going to be even stronger, especially right now when the job market is so high and you have so many people who are also trying to get internships. I think that's a great way to stand out, right? If you can kind of not only offer your services, offer your help, but also back up your experience and your skill set by saying, hey, look, I already pulled all these reports for you, and I really do think that this can be vital to your organization. And I think that's a great way to seal the deal, pretty much.
I love that. No, great insights. Always feel free to interrupt me. I'm a chatterbox.
Oh my gosh, no.
Stop talking. Stop talking. Okay, we got another question here from Marlena. It's a pretty name. What are the most effective strategies and advice you would give someone who didn't go to a target school when seeking a position for a referral at a company like Google? Okay, I'm going to take this one first because I'm really passionate about it. Okay, so Marlena, I went to Texas Tech University, okay? I went to what some people would probably call a party school, I'm not Harvard, Yale graduate over here, It's definitely, these larger companies sometimes get a bad rap, and of course there are brilliant people who come from Harvard who work at companies like Microsoft and Google, but there are, I wouldn't want to say normal people, but things that aren't, like you said, target schools, but that has no bearing on how intelligent you are, how effectively you can do your job, and how successful you can be moving forward. So I wouldn't let that worry you at all. It's going to be so much more important is your work experience. Oftentimes when I'm looking at candidates, it may say like bachelor's degree or equivalent practical experience. There are times where I have sent candidates through who did not have bachelor's degrees. They just had amazing work experience for 20 years at great companies. And there's no denying that. There's no denying that if you can stick around a place for that long, that you are effective at what you do. So for anybody listening out here, you don't need to be like going to some crazy school to work at amazing companies. It is about so much more than that. It is about your transferable skills. It is about who you are. And I want you guys to open your mind and not hold yourself back, because I never thought that these opportunities were possible for me. And I wish I had sooner, because I was limiting myself in my own life. And I definitely don't want that for anyone else. So there we go. There's my passion. You got something to add, Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I think I stand by everything that Jennifer said. I don't think you have to be going to one of these Harvard, et cetera, type of school. I think, like Jennifer mentioned, you have to be able to showcase your skills. And what I mean by that is really, if you can target and explicitly explain why you are unique as a candidate, and maybe that's because you are an expert in Python or in a particular skill set. I think if you can really showcase that makes you a lot stronger in your application, and you're essentially showing that you really do have the knowledge in the potential responsibilities that you are applying for, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I hope that answered your question, Marlena. Well, yes, I think we did. You are very welcome. Well, we are getting up to our half-hour mark here soon, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Kim. Anyone, if you're still listening, you have any last-minute questions, do get them in. We will be wrapping up here shortly. But in the meantime, Kim, will you just sort of leave us with, what are a few of your tips for how to navigate the rest of this year? There's just so many people out there. If you had like 3 pieces of advice for people, what would you say would be some steps they can take to start heading in the right direction?
Yeah, very good question. Just know, I think this is not necessarily a tip, but maybe just kind of anecdote, that everyone is in the same boat right now. You're not alone. If you're feeling like you're struggling or feeling overwhelmed, just know that everyone is feeling that way, or at least most people are feeling that way. It's very common. If you need help, definitely ask for help. So I guess that's the second anecdote. And the third thing I think that is really, really helpful is building a routine for yourself. So if you can start your day off by having a very good morning routine, where that may consist of working out, writing your goals, writing your intentions, manifesting, or whatever that may look like. If you can just create maybe like a 5-minute, 10-minute routine for yourself in the morning that you do every single day, you'll start to build on those healthy habits, and you'll start to see changes that seep into different areas of your life.
I love that. Those are all great tips. I would say, for me, I like how you took a little bit more of like the overall approach. I was going to take much more of like the literal like job seeker approach. So I feel like it's going to be an effective mix here. But I would say definitely get your resume ready, guys. Like, I don't care if you're listening to this right now and you're like, I love my job. My job is great. Get your resume ready. Everyone should have their resume ready right now. Right now. It should be ready all the time. You never know when your dream job is going to be like pop up at some company and become available, and time is of the essence. You guys need to apply quickly. You need to get in the door quickly, because a lot of these times these roles can shut down in like a week. So get your foot in the door, have your resume ready, get your LinkedIn ready, get it optimized. If you don't know how to do that, if you can't afford a career coach, go to my website. It's right down here. Wait, the other way, right down here. Yes, and there's free resources. I have a free resume guide. I have a free LinkedIn guide. They're absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything. They're videos I made and gave at like college presentations. They're really good stuff. So check them out. Get your stuff ready. Put yourself out there on LinkedIn. And additionally, 3, I would say just, put yourself out there and don't deny yourself opportunities because you think that things aren't meant for you. because I promise you, the minute you open up that mind of yours and say, truly, like, I can do anything, is the moment the world becomes your oyster. So don't limit yourself, shoot for the stars. All the cheesy sayings, they're true. They're true because you can do it. And I know you guys can. So that would be my tips for the day. And
that's great.
We actually
love
don't
those
have
3
any more
tips.
questions. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Kim.
awesome.
You're so sweet. I know. Well, this was super helpful. I think that they got some great content from you, Kim. I really appreciate you being here. If you'll let everyone know where to find you, how to connect with you.
Definitely. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Kimberley Bueno-Schonig. You can also head over to my website at Bueno-Schonigconsulting.com.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.